Hey everyone, happy Wednesday afternoon. This is Jasmine, your host of Industry Chats by Affixify. I am coming to you today from icy Fort Worth, Texas, and I'm super excited to have Maggie Mistovich here. She is the VP of Marketing over at Otelier. Hey Maggie, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. Happy Wednesday to everyone.
Happy Wednesday. We were just talking about the difference in when Colorado gets snow and when Texas gets snow.
Yes, it's very much steady state for us. So I'm in the mountains, so there's school's never canceled. If it's cold, it's just normal. So it's been business as usual for us at least the last
I
few
love it.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous. I was telling Maggie we're stranded here. We're stranded. But no, it's such a gift to do this show every week. And Maggie, I told you in an email, but I was so excited to have you on. We've been working with Hotelier for a little while now as a listed partner of Affixify. But what the index that you sent over and that we're going to review today shows is
Yeah.
some really phenomenal information, some amazing statistics. So if you're tuning in today, have your notes ready. There is some really good stuff we're going to unpack today. We're going to go over, if you missed it, Hotelier's 2026 Hotel Operations Index. They did this alongside Agilicis and Sage. But Maggie, before we jump into all of the data and all of that, will you tell us a little bit just about Hotelier? Like, give us your
Yeah, of
elevator pitch.
course. Elevator pitch is first and foremost, we're a hotel data platform. We've built a tech stack on some of the most modern technologies that's out there to pull in as much breadth and depth of hotel data as possible. More simply put, we've got some cloud-based solutions that sit on top of that. So they live in three buckets: budgeting and forecasting, everyone's favorite topic, business intelligence, and then we have a back office automation suite that includes a paperless night audit, and digital vendor
Nice.
payments and a reconciliation software. So we touch a lot of areas in the hotel operations kind of discipline, but the
Right.
the main sort of bread and butter is that, like, we are a data company. So that's, further to a lot of the chat we'll be having today around hotel data and, all the
Yeah.
fun ins and outs we can learn about it.
Well, data is the data is the thing. I sometimes talk about this memory I have from high tech. It was probably 2013, 2014 when the term big data became like this industry phenomenon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
walking through high tech and everyone's, booth signage was like big data. And we're like, what does that mean? And so I think data is data. It's always been key, for our industry. And then really what you guys have done to break it down is amazing. Do you remember the big data era?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a theme that we're latched onto. I feel like now it's very like AI driven, and how
AI.
can we, like, talk about AI, implement AI. So, like,
Yeah.
we're kind of in this next wave of layering that on top of big data.
Yeah.
But it's always been a topic. I think there's just as a marketing person, there's a way to put a spin on it that makes it
Yeah.
catchy and everyone can jump on the wave. But yeah,
I love it.
I'm
I love
honestly
it.
kind of happy to be out of it being like a thing, because it's
Yeah.
it's just like a necessary part of our
You're like,
business.
this is what we
Yeah.
need to operate. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. No, I completely agree. So, one of the things that I took and I read through the entire report, you talk about, which this is so obvious, but I want to break it down. So, hotels have more data than ever. We know that, right? Like, now is the time, and pretty much any industry, just in general, as humans, we have more data available than we've ever had. But then why are we seeing decision making also become so complex? Like you talk about, and I'm going to read this, that 75% of those surveyed said current tech is only moderately supportive of data driven decisions. And I thought that's so interesting being in like this data driven world. Tell me
Yeah.
what your take is on that. Like, why do we have so much data and yet we're having decision fatigue?
Yeah, I mean, there's anyone that's been in the hotel business for any amount of time is not a stranger to the disparate nature of our systems, especially those that are in like multi-property type
Mm,
groups, where you've got a Marriott hotel, you've got a Hilton hotel, you've got a Hyatt hotel. They all live in your portfolio. Sometimes they're in the same cluster in the same market, but
sure.
you've got a different PMS in every building. You've got, potentially different revenue management systems, and you're sitting here trying to, optimize performance in each of these hotels. But in order to look at things holistically, you've got to pull a report from this system and that system, and they don't talk to each other.
Yeah.
And it's difficult, particularly when you're in this like multi-property operating environment, to be able to aggregate and look at things holistically. And so I think, we cite some different points in the report that like we're getting there, like things are moving
Yeah.
forward, but the pace of things, and this is very much like akin to the hospitality industry, is just not as fast as it is in some other
Yeah.
businesses. And so we're left kind of like having to pick up the pieces and like aggregate things ourselves, or have someone on our team like spend hours compiling
Yeah.
reports just so we can have a clear picture of things. And so there is progress, and we talk about that a little bit, but to say we're there is
Yeah.
a big, is a big statement, and I don't think that's a true statement yet.
Yeah. Well, and I think something I learned too with reading it is like data can be hard to trust because it is fragmented. I mean, it is, what do you guys see with your customer base too? Because you guys deal in data. I'm sure they're voicing their problems, that you guys are solving. Where's that trust issue mostly lying?
Well, I think there's a timeliness component to it. So
Yeah.
like, are you looking at something at the beginning of the day versus the end of the day? We know things can change very quickly in the hotel setting. And so, there's directionally some confidence in it, but I think because of the disparate nature of our systems
Right.
and of our tech, it's like if everything's not flowing at the same time into the
Yeah.
right mapping and into the codes are all appropriately tied off, and there's a lot, right? The
Yeah.
depth of the data is so much that it's like, okay, you feel okay about what you're seeing, but is it all hitting the reporting at the same time? Is it all coming in from the same system? Are
Right.
the mappings correct? And so, that's just, challenges that we deal with our customers very consistently. And that's part of
Mm.
why, the way at least with the way Otelier is built,
Yeah.
the applications sit on top of the data platform, and that's why we really consider ourselves a data company first and foremost.
Yeah.
But I think there's still a lot of skepticism because of just the way that
Yeah.
the hospitality tech stack has been since the beginning of time, right? It's like
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
lot to learn.
There's so much. Well, and I think it's, I mean, I'm reading another, stat that you guys had in there that only 11% of those you surveyed said their tech stack is fully integrated. And I was like, okay, that's a bit staggering. I think I made a
Yeah.
note next to that, like shocking, just because we are in a world where integrations should be much easier. But when you look
Yeah.
at, and you guys mentioned, right, like a lot of these hoteliers are at least relying on 7+ platforms. So now you have to worry about integration and to your point, things have to be mapped. And, it's a very big
Yep.
process.
Yeah.
And now you're doing that with 7 core systems minimum. I mean, it's a lot of
Yeah.
work. On top of that,
Sometimes
having,
more. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I came from, so I spent some time in digital strategy in the hotel world before I went into tech. And as a marketer, for example, that's like trying to run campaigns for all these different properties, different brands. Well, they use
yeah,
different systems, but you still have to report on like an ROI for the portfolio. It's like,
yeah,
how do I do that? Well, I got to pull it into a spreadsheet and then run the analysis myself.
yeah,
And it's just like we've become so accustomed, as hotel operators, having to live in all these different systems. Then I spent a few years just in pure tech, and I
mm,
was like floored by how integrated everything was. Like
yeah,
our tech, our marketing automation and our
yeah,
CRM and everything was like nicely married together. And in that time frame, I'm like, man, that's more steady state in other industries
yeah,
than it is in hospitality. Like,
yeah,
when you try to explain, this disparate nature of systems to someone that hasn't been in the business, they're like floored that we work in all these systems. Like,
uh-huh.
how do you even run like an efficient business? And so, it's we've kind of we're a bit hardened, the hotel
Yeah,
industry and hoteliers in general are a bit hardened with the way they've had to navigate those challenges. But it's made us a bit more nimble, right? And I think
yeah,
now
yeah,
having the ability to have these data aggregation tools
mhm,
is really eye opening, and
yeah,
should drive better decision making in the future. But it's like we got to
mhm,
be able to use it, right? And getting into
right,
7 systems a day is like, who has time for that?
yeah. Oh, I mean, it's so much. In fact, one of my brand, they're not a client of ours, they're just a good friend through the years. And they were sharing a project with me where they built a portal to bring all of these logins and platforms into just one place, just to like a screen where their hotel operators can log into all these things. Cause
Yeah.
it just gets to be so much. And then I think in our personal world, we live so spoiled in that sense. I mean, it just a
Yeah.
very light example is a couple months ago, I went from having a PC to a Mac, but everything else I have is Apple. I mean, it wasn't even like I was super, I don't know, stressed about getting it wasn't a thing. Like I opened the computer and all of a sudden my phone's there and my texts are on there was no changeover at all. And I
Yeah.
mean, my
What a
iPod,
concept.
yeah, what a concept, right? Like my AirPods are already connected. So it was, I thought to myself, gosh, we are so used to this in our, as consumers in our personal world. It's even more interesting in our industry how things can be.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and this wasn't on script necessarily. We don't really do anything on script on the show, but I had a question. So with Otelier, when you guys come in, are you then able to help? I mean, you sit on top of these platforms and help aggregate data, right? So do
Mm-hmm.
people find that you can then help them not have to adopt more tech because you can pull it all together? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, it depends on the use case. So there's, I'll take our BI tool IntelliSite as an example. Part of the solution there is bringing all of the data from these systems. We have over 400 integrations, and they all can pump into the data layer, and then we can serve up reporting, visualizations,
Yeah.
kind of whatever you need to help better make decisions in your business. Where we see this replacement of tech is really more so a replacement of hours. So like if you're using like a business intelligence tool, or if you have a data team that's aggregating reports manually in spreadsheets, right? We solve for that, and it's really this idea of time saving, timeliness of data, being able to do things without like crunching the numbers on your own. We
Yeah.
see that a
Yep.
lot where it replaces like hours and hours of time spent in spreadsheets.
Mm.
And so there's yes, it's another piece of tech, but it's designed to like aggregate things from all of these other
Sure.
systems so that you're not logging into 7 different places to pull
Yeah.
down
It's
a
amazing.
flash report or whatever it might be. So yeah.
That's phenomenal. I mean, it's such a need. And I mean, clearly it's a need. You guys are growing. And then what I love then is that, you talk about in this report fragmented tech stacks, and we mentioned the 11%, right? Only 11% think that their tech stack is integrated, but also found this interesting 91% are doing manual reporting. So I found that to be mind blowing. And again, in the age of data, that should absolutely not be the case. But you mentioned it,
Right.
right? Like in your experience, having to pull in, so obviously you guys help solve that problem as well, which
Yeah,
is
and when you
phenomenal.
have with hotels, there's all these stakeholders, right? You've got
Yeah.
owners, you've got operators, you've got your department heads, whether it's ops, finance, sales, and marketing. Um, y- there's a lot of folks that have eyes on hotel
Mm.
performance.
Right.
The views and like the amount of information they want to see though is totally different, right? Like
Yes.
you have one group that's more interested in pace and pickup, and another that's more interested in labor, right? Like
Yeah.
statistics.
Yeah.
And so to be able to deliver on those different
Mm.
stakeholder needs, it's like, okay, I gotta manually pull a report for this and manually pull a report for that. And so the beauty in kind of this integrated data layer is like being able to create these views that
Right.
you can go reference at any time, right? Because the
Yeah.
data is pumping in real time. So it's the time savings piece cannot be overstated. And I think there's and the interesting thing too with these stakeholders is like, especially folks that have worked for different management companies or different brands or different owners, know that they have different like views. Like one owner wants to see certain things that another owner doesn't, and so the time sunk into producing those views can be
Yeah.
astronomical, right? It's like
Yeah.
another full-time job for folks. And a lot of times you've got, general managers or VPs of operations that are
Yeah.
sinking hours of time into being able to do this, rather than spending time running their hotels. And that's not
Mhm.
what we're after.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you mentioned labor. I know you guys mentioned at the just like the top of the report that labor is still being reported as the biggest pain point or the biggest struggle.
Yeah.
So, having the data or anything we can do to help support decisions in that area is going to be key.
Yeah.
Um, And I think it's really, again, I keep going back to the like reliance on 7+ systems. I think it's really telling what hoteliers are having to do to pull all of that together. So, someone like you guys coming in is a game changer.
For sure. Yeah. I
For
think
sure.
anytime we can make the decisions more real time,
Yeah.
give data that is actionable, is going
Right.
to hopefully make that a
Yeah.
bit less of a pain point. Now, we know like labor problems in hotels has like been a thing since the beginning of time. And, we can't deliver humans for you, but
I wish we
hopefully
could.
there are
Yeah.
some efficiencies, right, that come out in
Yeah.
kind of the analysis. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's plenty to unpack as it relates to
Yeah.
solving the labor crisis, the labor challenges. So hopefully, if we
Yeah.
can help with a small part of that, like great.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it is, like you said, we can't deliver people. I wish we could. But let's talk. This is the number one topic we get on our show. So we have to mention AI.
Yeah.
I love that you guys did include some real kind of facts on the sentiment. I think that's important. I find, of course, what we do, right, is we're engaged with tech vendors every single day. So we
Yeah.
hear, especially Stephanie on our team, right? She hears about AI constantly. But I really found it intriguing that you guys talk about, okay, AI interest is surging. This is exactly what the report says, but
Mhm.
a lot of people aren't ready yet and they're not ready to adopt it. And so, in fact, 40% of those you guys surveyed said, hey, we're just not ready to make the adoption. And I think you guys might even mention like there's still some foundational things to be built. So what's your take on it? First of all, even I'd be interested in hearing your personal take, Maggie, on AI
Yeah.
in our industry or in general. And then I want to talk a little bit about why we think people may not be ready. I have opinions too, but I'd much rather hear
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah. Well, coming from just like a marketer opinion, like how much of it is like actual usable technology versus hopping on this buzzword. Like,
Yeah.
we're a tech platform that, we want to have something AI related. So we'll throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks. From my perspective, it's like I need to know how it really improves my day-to-day workflow. So like
Yeah.
simply buying a piece of software that has some AI capability just to say that you're using AI is great, but like what does it really do in my day to day? Is it saving me time? Is it like
Mhm.
reducing manual workloads? Is it,
Mhm.
shifting, certain employee tasks into higher outcome type of things versus, kind of
Yeah.
day to day task oriented stuff? And I think it's hard to delineate like
Yeah.
what AI tools really do that. Like, how do I sift through the noise of it just
Mhm.
being like this buzzword thing versus something that's really going to have, an impact on my day-to-day
Yeah.
workflow? And like the hotel industry is no different.
Yeah.
I think people like love the idea of AI, but they're like, okay, what is it really going to do? Like
Mhm.
it's, we talk about labor shortages. It's not going to replace people, at least not right now.
Yep.
There's, we gauge some sentiment on just like the categories of AI that hoteliers feel like they're ready to adopt. And most of it is in predictive demand,
Yeah.
data analysis, things that right now they're sinking a lot of time into,
Mhm.
less of it on the guest facing front, which is not surprising for what it's
Yeah.
worth. It's like guest service still matters, personal touch still matters. And I don't think
Yeah.
that's a confusing stat for anybody that's in the business.
Yes.
Um, but when it comes, I think of like uses of AI in data analysis that I have found useful. And it's like, okay, I still need to build a report and build a visualization that's going to help me make decisions. But here's a nice layer of AI. It's like, give me a write up, give me a summary of what you're seeing here. And
Mm.
so I'll let that, kind of ask your data, like that summary kind of tell me what it sees in the data. And then I can apply my own thinking to that to say, yes, it jives or no, it doesn't. And that kind of
Yeah.
helps, I think, that like analysis piece. So I'm not surprised that hoteliers are skeptical because it
Yeah.
really like we need to see the benefits of it in our day-to-day workflows, like where it saves
Yeah.
time, where it really improves processes. And like it's just not clear right now. I
Yeah.
think there's still a lot of kind of buzzworthy nature of it that doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
give us the answers on like, okay, what, I go into my hotel as a GM, like what's it going to help me do today? You
Yeah.
know, like I think
Yeah.
that's just like not clear.
Yes.
So I totally get the skepticism, and it's like, we want to see, we want to see this help improve our day-to-day workflows, but we just like don't know exactly how that's happening yet. We need to see some examples of
Mm.
that. Yeah.
Spot on. I tend to veer towards the answer of, I think right now people are curious of, to your point, like what's the problem it's solving for me? And if that problem being solved includes AI, cool. But I don't want to just talk about AI to talk about AI. That's what I've taken from our industry is like, okay, so there's a company that does traversing AI. They do like call center operations, right? So they actually use AI to answer the phone for a guest when they need towels and things like that. Well, that is a pretty clear outcome is, oh, you get calls answered.
Yep.
So that percentage goes up. The guest gets what they need. The outcome is great. But I don't know that, people don't, in my opinion, aren't as concerned of, is it AI or not, as much as like, how is it going to help me? And to your point,
Exactly. Yeah.
most of us are in hospitality, right? Especially on the operational side to provide experiences. And that's not going to be provided through machines. So I think you have a perfect answer there. And I'm also curious to see how, this evolves. If we were to talk next January, what would be the statistic, right? Or maybe you guys are going to come back and revisit that in next year's report. I mean, maybe even 40% goes down to 20% aren't ready. I don't know. I'm curious to see.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more we see like real world examples of things delivering value
Yeah.
for hotel operators, like,
Yeah.
I think people are just like, I don't want to be the first. Like, let me
Yeah.
see, let me see how other companies are doing it, how other, operators are doing it before diving into like making an investment in some of these tools. Cause a lot of times too, we don't have a ton of extra cash to throw at
Yeah.
unproven solutions, even if it's
Yeah.
like, a sexy buzzword like AI. So,
Yeah.
I think it's like we'd like to, like, that's the readiness piece. It's like
Yes.
there's an appetite for it, but the readiness is like
Mm.
not quite aligned. It's not quite at the same pace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you use it personally? Like in your personal life? Are you a chat GPTer?
Yeah. So like there's certain things like Chat GPT is a great example, particularly as it relates to like content. I mean, I'm a marketer,
Yeah.
so like, yes,
True. Yes.
let's save some time. Like now
Absolutely.
it's not gonna deliver in the channels we
Yep.
need. So we still need a human touch to like execute on a campaign. There's some other examples that, particularly in our own tech stack, that's,
Mm.
we were a Salesforce, HubSpot, business, and there's some things within those platforms that
Right.
have
Yeah.
helped. That piece about data analysis, like
Yeah.
it's nice to get a little AI summary of some of the reporting that I
Love
use day
that.
to day, even though it's, I'm not necessarily like copying and pasting that
Mm.
somewhere, but it just helps me read through and interpret things a little bit quicker. So there are some
Yeah.
efficiencies in there. I
Yeah.
think the things that are most helpful are like little AI features that are built within a
Hmm.
platform. Not necessarily, they're not what the platform is
Yeah.
meant to do entirely, but it's like,
Yeah.
oh, here's some email copy that might help. Let's A/B test
Love
the
it. Yeah.
subject line. Here's an AI
Yeah.
suggestion. So those
Yeah.
are the kind of things, like the little nuggets, that seem to be most effective, at least in my
Yeah.
workflows. Yeah.
I'm the same. I mean, I do, admittedly, I use ChatGPT every day, but you won't catch me like copy paste, right? I'm very much like you said, I add the human touch, but there are definitely times where I'm like, wow, what did I do before this? Because like in my world, I'm constantly emailing, responding, following up. And so there's
Yeah.
times where I will put my notes in and say, like, can you just like make sense of these? And then I can create, a follow up from there.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I think it's an incredible tool. And admittedly, I mean, we're a small startup, so we're not using a huge tech stack anyway as a company.
Right. Right.
But in that way, I think it's so helpful. And I think people will continue to uncover, like for their specific use case, what is helpful and then what is overkill or what's just a buzzword.
Yep.
So anyway, it's interesting. I thought your section on the study about that was really interesting. And honestly, just in general, for those listening live or watching on YouTube, Maggie, how can they get a hold of the study? We're going to share it too from Affixify, but this is such a good resource. So what is the best way for our listeners to get their hands on this?
It's on our website, so otelier.io. And then if you go to the resources section, it'll be the first thing you see there. You can download it there. Obviously, we'll follow up with your audience as well. But yeah, that's the quickest, easiest way.
That's the quickest. Awesome. Well, Maggie, thank you so much for being on the show today. And if anyone wanted to contact you directly, hey, I had questions, obviously they can find Otelier through Affixify, but Maggie, what's the best way? Is it LinkedIn, email?
Yeah. Here on LinkedIn is easy. Email is just my first last name at otelier.io. And yeah, happy to field any connection requests or questions, anything that comes in. Yeah, I'm here for it.
I love it. Well, we are so excited. The index was wonderful. We will also share it through Affixify. And then we will be back next week. We will have our friends from Galvendi, who are actually an AI booking platform. They do matching between guests and rooms. So it'll be fun to dive into that. Maggie, thank you so much for being our guest today. And we will see everybody next week.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.